Joining me now from San Diego, California, entrepreneur, former CEO, former congressman, and current candidate for California's 50th Congressional District, Darrell Issa. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks for a lead-in with our on-again, off-again, change the rules governor. The absurdity of what we're doing and not getting people back to work and not allowing businesses to make their own decisions is unbelievable. I know this is an interview, but I've been to multiple businesses throughout the 50th Congressional District and beyond, and the one thing they almost all have in common is they're able to keep their employees from getting infected while at work, not outside of work. And the reality is this is exactly the right message, which is safe working place. And then if the governor would be more reasonable about the non-working hours, I think we would have kicked this thing much more effectively. But the important thing is we wouldn't have tanked our economy.
Yeah. So you're saying you're not going to get one of these mechanical masks that open up so that you can do that in between bites?
You know, it's the governor would like to treat it like it's Ebola. Well, in fact, Nancy Pelosi says one thing, and as we all know, does something completely different when she thinks the cameras are off.
Yeah, and I laugh because people are actually concerned. I was looking on social media. They're like, wait a minute. They want us to like touch our mask in between bites. Isn't that actually more dangerous for us in contracting the coronavirus and the potential and the possibility? Like, there's no science to back that up, that you need to move it up and down. Also, what happens when you're moving it down? So are you like all of a sudden you can't catch coronavirus in between? And so I think that's what people have a huge issue with is, again, the arbitrary rules, the things that just don't make sense, and then we're just supposed to sit there and follow orders.
The amazing thing is if we've been to Costco or any other large store that has made those decisions to protect its employees and to protect its customers, we've seen good practices at work. We've also seen that in countries that had total lockdowns, the moment the lockdown is over, they return to an infection level, which means that we as Americans need to recognize that although this disease can be fatal, it is in fact a disease we can live with even if we don't get a total vaccine anytime soon. As you know, and I think everyone watching knows, we've had a flu vaccine for decades and we still get the flu. We have to assume that there will still be cases of Corona-19 decades from now, even after a vaccine occurs.
Yeah, and I bring up California a lot on this show, and I know that people watch all over the country because California leads the way on crazy. So once California starts doing something, then, all the other blue states want to follow along because they want to be in the in crowd with Newsom.
Absolutely. One thing that California lives up to is an axiom of the late Ronald Reagan. President Reagan said, liberals aren't stupid, they just know things that aren't true.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good one. Now, you've been on the campaign trail, and we kind of touched on this, but what are people telling you about the lockdowns? Because originally, people were open to it. They said, okay, we're gonna shut down here. We're gonna flatten the curve here for a few weeks or a month. I can deal with that. We're gonna see what this virus is like, and then we're gonna reopen. That obviously hasn't happened. It's been months and months later. People are allowed to kind of reopen, then they're told to kind of shut down again. And I can't even imagine the expense and what people are going through.
Well, the expense has been to our economy, and in some cases we've shuttered businesses forever needlessly. What I'm hearing and hearing again and again is exactly what you let in with, which is that they played by the rules and they found out it didn't work. And now they want to be able to go back to work. Of course, they want to go back to work as safely as possible, but they're tired of being told that 2 or 3 weeks would do it, when in fact, 6 months later, there's no end in sight here or around the world. The reality is Americans are more courageous than America's leaders.
Yeah, and you're a small business owner. How has coronavirus directly impacted your business?
I own some real estate, and I must admit, some people moved out, some closed down, some didn't make their payments, some have made partial payments or negotiated in the hopes that in time they'll be able to catch up. The fact is it's cost us a lot of money, but President Trump's leadership, the PPP, helped offset some of that. We didn't lay off any of our employees, even though we sent them home. And that's what business leaders large and small have done, is work through that. But now that the PPP has run out, now that in fact we know that we're going to have to live with this disease, businesses want to go back to work safely, and our company is doing telework, but we're also bringing people in on a rotation basis because some things just need to be done in the office.
Absolutely. And as you know, there's been wildfires raging across California, and we hear Newsom come out a lot, and he talks about climate change. I think that there are other areas that he could tackle when it comes to these wildfires. Wildfires are nothing new. He tries to blame Republicans, and he tries to blame Trump for not taking climate change seriously. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you know, when I came to California many, many years ago as a young second lieutenant in the Army, when I reported to my unit, I immediately went out and got on a bulldozer with my platoon because they were fighting the Los Padres forest fire right outside of Fort Ord. That fire went on for more than 30 days. Wildfires are not new in California. As a matter of fact, here are the things we know. The amount of fuel, wind, and generally high temperatures and no rain will guarantee that you have a fire. Now, there'll be more fire if there's more fuel. There'll be more vicious fires if there's more wind. There's nothing in climate change that really makes grass grow better. In fact, if it was hot and dry and we weren't growing, then we wouldn't have all this fuel. The reality is the amount of fuel, the temperature, and the wind. And the governor is ignoring the fact that we simply have a lot of fuel and we had high temperatures and wind, but nothing that was particularly outside the predictable norm in California. So we can have a discussion about climate change, but we shouldn't use climate change as a boogeyman for every bad event just to scare people, and that's what he's done. He's tried to take advantage of the disadvantage of this fire in order to push his agenda.
Well, it's dishonest, and it's not helpful for the problem or helpful in moving this conversation forward. Again, forest management, the power companies, there's other things to look at, and as you pointed out. But yeah, and what they tell you is that, oh, well, if you support our policies when it comes to climate change, for example, like the Green New Deal, which is all the Democrats love that. Congresswoman AOC really loves it. But again, it had really nothing to do with climate. Like, it's not going to change the temperature on our planet here. It's not going to do anything that they kind of try to make it seem like it's going to do, because if you actually look at the text and what it promotes, it's more about raising taxes and more government control, regulations.
Well, exactly. And California has the Green New Deal. We have, for the most part, exactly what AOC wants and my opponent is promoting. And as a result, and by the way, with the governor saying in 2035 he wants to have all electric vehicles, as a result, what we have is the lights going off. We have rolling blackouts here in Southern California simply because we're not producing enough energy as the sun goes down. It was great to say, let's go solar, but somebody had to figure out that solar is a daytime energy, and they don't have and have no plans to have the storage capability for that energy, and they're prohibited from building natural gas facilities to provide it. So we're inevitably going to see rolling blackouts for years to come if we don't change our policies.
Yeah. And I asked you about this before we started the show, but the race that you're in is a very competitive race. How can people across the country help you? I mean, California needs more Republicans in office, obviously. And the district that you're running in is the district where former Congressman Duncan Hunter, that was his old district. So what can people do to help?
Well, obviously they can go to darrellissa.com and donate, and that we would appreciate it. They can go and look at what we're dealing with. You know, we have an AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren endorsed candidate, a progressive, a socialist. He's starting to try to say that he's changed his positions between 2 years ago when he lost to Duncan Hunter, and now he's gone from being a progressive endorsed by the Progressive Caucus to saying now he's going to be a blue dog. I think people have to look at it carefully and support a candidate who is a consistent conservative. I have the voting record, and you know, you can always say, well, this guy is inconsistent, but you can't say it when someone is voted. You can say it when somebody who's never been elected has changed their positions between their first race and their second race. To me, that's the best example of an opportunist.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have to leave it here. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Stephanie.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.